On New Year's Eve, WhatsApp often processes over 100 billion messages in a single 24-hour period. That's roughly 1.2 million messages every single second. While you're counting down to midnight, this guy is watching a thundering herd of 100 billion messages hit his server all at once. I sat down with one of the lead engineers at WhatsApp to find out how they keep the world connected when every single person on earth hits send at the exact same time.
Glad to be here, Don. My name is Dick Brower. I live in Menlo Park, California. I oversee their infrastructure division, so all the software that we write that powers our servers, basically, that allows us to route, billions of messages a day to all our users all over the world. Another part is running the product growth team, so developing new features to help us grow all across the world.
Hundreds of billions of messages are often sent at times. That can sound kind of abstract for people. So what does it feel like to see that kind of traffic in real time as an engineer?
Frankly, sometimes it's stressful. This feeling of overseeing this vast infrastructure network, that we're kind of blind. We just see data packets going through, but because of end-to-end encryption, we don't actually know what's going through this network. If one of these pipes clog, and there's billions of these pipes, as you say, then the entire system is at risk of overflowing, sort of this cascading failure bit. So we need to be prepared to quickly react if anything goes wrong, and ensure that people can connect reliably. The sheer scale of it is humbling to us as well. Just the idea that most people in the world are using your product and rely on it for basic communication. Responsibility feels immense, and especially during these global events. When traffic surges. One of our peak traffic spikes was the Soccer World Cup. When the goal would be scored in the final, you would see our traffic just go through the roof.
Oh, wow. So everyone goes there and they're saying, okay, they want to start having conversations around this global event, maybe.
Yeah, what they say, we have no idea. Probably something that they're very excited that a goal is being scored. But that is, it's stressful in many ways, but it's also something that we're very proud of. Operating the machinery that keeps these billions of messages flowing is something that it's very dear and near to our heart to do that well and keep earning the trust from our users.
On New Year's Eve, if something breaks at WhatsApp, billions of people are going to feel it kind of instantly. So what's the closest you've ever been to thinking, oh no, this could be really bad?
My job is to make sure that this doesn't break, obviously. So one of the things that we do is we try to break as much as possible in advance. So about a month and a half before New Year's Eve, we start to develop run books, basically list out everything that could go wrong and then what will we do in these scenarios. We have developed over the years more and more what we call DEFCON switches. So when something does seem to be going wrong, we only have so much time because New Year's is a very short amount of time in the different places in the world. There's many New Year's Eves. So we see them all come by.
Oh, right. Forget that. There's
right?
the spikes.
Thankfully, it's not my New Year's Eve usually gets affected because while we're growing really fast in the US, there's only so many people that live in the PST New Year's Eve time zone. There's other time zones that have a lot more people in it. And it's about New Year's Eve in their time zone, right? At that moment at midnight, that's when most messages are being sent. So 11 a.m. is a big time, 2 p.m. my PST is a big New Year's Eve moment. So we see them all come by. We see them start and then.
So when you say we see lots of traffic, it's like pings in the server or what can you see?
Yeah, so we basically see hey, there's a device connected. And there's some encrypted bytes flowing through, and we literally look at how many of these packets are flowing through the system, and then are they being delivered? And we see this massive spike, and it goes very quick. That was a light. It goes very quick, and it goes back up and down. And then we look at all our services, what's our CPU doing? How is the memory looking on our servers? And if anything looks hot or overloaded or about to get overloaded, we can turn on some of these DEFCON switches. A good example here is right now, if I sent you a photo, your WhatsApp will automatically receive the message with a thumbnail with a blurry version and automatically download the high resolution photo onto your device. We can disable that so that you'd have to click on the photo to download the high resolution media. This will flatten the curve of traffic that we see in these spikes. So sometimes we do that because services are running hot on New Year's Eve. We may do this because we get a request from a particular internet provider that sees their servers get overloaded because of our messages. So that can also happen.
How do you manage to keep things private when there's scale involved? Because I know other places might actually loosen up privacy when the scale is painful. But it seems like WhatsApp is actually doing the opposite. You guys are doing end-to-end encryption. Was there ever a moment when the decision made things brutally harder and you just had to stick with it?
Yeah, definitely. So end-to-end encryption generally makes things harder. It means there's much more work to do for our clients, like setting up an end-to-end encrypted session, exchanging keys. When I send a message to a group, say 100 people, instead of having one message that can be sent to everybody, I now need to exchange encryption keys with all these 100 people. There's at least 100 messages that now need to be exchanged. So it's much more expensive and there's a lot more work to do. So making that happen like very reliable is more challenging. And these days we allow for even larger groups, like up to 1,000 people in size. And that's just hard to achieve with end-to-end encryption. And there's like still fundamental sort of the boundaries that we're trying to push with fundamental encryption technology to make that work better.
And this encryption's for text, images, videos, audio. It's any kind of
calling, all of that. But that's ultimately what we are about. Like what we care about is being the trusted communication platform of choice for our users. And users pick us because we're reliable, we're private, the app is simple, and it just works. And so those are the core things we stand for, and we would never let go, even though it makes our work harder. But that's the engineering challenge in many ways.
It's got to be really fun seeing the engineering challenge. And, I was reading that, on New Year's Day, about 1 in 4 people on Earth is reaching out to someone that they care about. And so from what you see, who do people really message when the clock hits midnight?
Yeah. And the truth is we have no idea. We see these spikes. We see them map nicely to world events, to, New Year's Eve time zones in the world. We presume that people are sending, New Year's Eve pictures and over Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's Eve. But like at the end of the day, we don't know.
That was the answer I was hoping to hear. So I'm excited. It was a trick question. You passed. What's the part of keeping WhatsApp running on New Year's that almost no one thinks about, but engineers literally lose sleep over?
Yeah, and there's this invisible infrastructure, right, as you say, that kind of ensures uptime and smooth delivery. And it lets people connect sort of without anybody having to think about the technology behind it. Keeping these millions of pipes unclogged and just flowing is the thing that keep messages flowing. That's always in the back of my head. The thing that many people don't think about, for example, edge cases. So like internet outages in specific regions in the world, adversarial government actions, the risk of message loss because people's devices are filling up. These are some of the silent things that we work on and try to improve that people never see, but are critical to our reliability. And there's also this notion of we need to be reliable for over 3 billion people. And there's always something in the world somewhere that is going wrong. Well, you may only see an issue once every few years. If you multiply that out, we see issues constantly, and we need to try to work around them or try to build infrastructure that's more resilient to these types of problems. But there's always something going on in the world.
So there's all these little pieces that we don't see, like the invisible layer of infrastructure, and you're seeing them every day.
At this scale, there's always something. But you don't think about. For you, it just kind of works. Like why is it that hard? Sometimes you get that question, right? Like, why is WhatsApp? What did you do? Like, it just works.
I still can't fathom 3 billion though. I mean, like how do you even fathom 3? Can you visualize 3 billion people in your head?
No, I don't think anybody can. At some point, numbers become abstract, to your point, but they do translate into other things, like what I just said, right? Like always somewhere in the world, there's something happening. Obviously, 24/7 things are happening, but it is abstract and it is sometimes hard to imagine. Sometimes you have to go back to, okay, what does it actually mean? And maybe another way to think about this is like it's the scale, but it's also as we build features, we need to build them for 3 billion people. But the app is used in wildly different ways in the world. People communicate differently. They have different expectations from technology, different ways they use the internet, their devices, different types of devices, different types of bandwidth. So building for that type of skill, which is slightly different than reliability, is also really difficult. It's more this empathy bit. Like you really have to try to get under the skin of a lot of different people and cultures in order to build for everybody successfully.
If you had to strip WhatsApp down to just its core single principle that you would refuse to compromise on, even when there's billions of users involved, what would that single principle be that you would never compromise?
Yeah, it would be privacy with end-to-end encryption at its core, but it's not just that, and reliability. These are sort of non-negotiable for us. Like we want to make sure it goes back to this trust thing. Like you should be able to communicate with your friends and family and your loved ones without, it should just work and nobody else is listening in.
Beautiful.
And those are sort of the things that like nothing can compromise on that. And that's where the work comes. And that's where, as an engineer, I get excited about the types of challenges that poses, because it's not always easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you're trying to like steer a billion, 3 billion ships and make sure that they have to get to the right place and like not drop the load in the ocean before it reaches the right person. I mean, that's a lot. So, a lot of people assume massive platforms are fully automated. On nights like New Year's Eve, how human is the system behind the scenes?
Yeah, and we have that same internal conversation. Like, why can't this be automated? Like, what can we do to automate more? And we do automate every year more and more. And a good example is, years ago, if a single system would get overloaded, it would impact a lot of systems around it. This snowball effect. That's always a scary thing, because like a little mistake somewhere in a small system can take everything down that way.
Oof.
So we built lots of technology, and it used to be manually go in and shut down the system and sort of try to prevent that from spilling over. Nowadays, we're much better at that. So we have much better load shedding mechanisms. So if one system gets overloaded, we don't push back all the traffic and overload everything else before that, but we're more resilient to these types of changes. But sort of these self-healing properties that you try to build in. But as I said earlier, every year it's different, whether it's more skill or whether there is more media traffic because it's higher quality, or there's more calls being made, or different types of disruptions. You can't fully predict what's going to happen. So at the end of the day, it's a team of people that are on call, glued to their screen on New Year's Day. Wow. And then a bunch of us that are just available online to jump in when needed. And we just watch charts. We see the spikes come in and go up. And watch for alerts. And that alert could be, we have thousands of alerts that can go off, right? Just, again, server related.
Do you have notifications turned on or off on your device?
I have them turned on when I go to sleep. There is this, there's this phone number that is automatic escalation path, not just me, but other people in the company too. So if something serious goes wrong, that gets pinged and people get woken up, including myself at times. But
that's good to know.
It isn't the default, but otherwise, yes, they're on.
Got it. I've noticed from your work, you've worked at startups and now you're at one of the most heavily used systems on the planet. So what is a leadership lesson that only shows up when the stakes are as high as this?
Yeah. The big thing you just called out is exactly that, right? The stakes are massively higher. One mistake today may mean billions of people lose access to basic communication that they rely on for their livelihood and just to operate. That was very different when I was at startups. Like, you could make a mistake, didn't matter as much. So the risk reward, like the risk trade-off is very different. But I think the leadership quality, one of the things that really stands out, and I've mentioned this a few minutes ago, is really this empathy bit, like leading with empathy, because you're not building for yourself or just what you think is the right thing. You really have to understand how are users using this product, and that's very hard to project because I live in this small bubble in one part of the world, and I've lived in different places, but still, and you can't just assume that anything that it's a consumer product that I use day in day out, but whatever is good for me doesn't mean it's good for everybody. That's probably the hardest thing, and it's like really different and really important.
So how do you increase your empathy? Like how, as a leader, how did you get more empathy for not just your own circumstances when building WhatsApp, but everybody else's or many others?
Talking to users. I think at the end of the day, that's what, if there's one thing that, this is true in general, most, whether you're in a startup or in a bigger company, that people don't do enough of is that. But it's even more important, I think, for us. So we go out on research trip, we talk to our users, try to observe like how they use WhatsApp, what's important to them. We put different features in front of them. We try to see what helps, what doesn't help. And it's that type of work at the end of the day, spending time with them.
So if we were to fast forward to New Year's Eve a few years from now, so let's say like 5 years from now, if people feel safer, calmer, and more connected because of WhatsApp, what would you hope changed between now and 5 years from now behind the scenes to make that even more possible than maybe it already is?
I think at a fundamental level, this would be because more people trust WhatsApp to allow them to communicate with their friends and their loved ones privately. Like at the end of the day, it's us getting out of their way. I think the best technology disappears. Help people connect privately without having to worry the system may not be working, that they can trust nobody's listening in, that they can send whether it's large videos and large files without limitation. Some of it is features that help, right? Like I want to be able to express myself in a certain way. So like certain features help do that, whether it's better stickers or better emojis or allowing PTV messages, that these push to video messages that people are sending a lot of these days. Some of it is that, but at the end of the day, it's just You want to express yourself, you want to communicate, and we just need to get out of your way to do that.
I recently got WhatsApp in my Meta display, Ray-Ban display
More
glasses.
devices. It's a good one. Yeah.
And it's incredible. It's literally out of the way. I don't even have to have a device in my hand. And
Right.
yet I can communicate privately in a chat, in a group. I have a lot of VFX friends, so we're in like a VFX group. And sometimes I just want to hear what they're saying. And I can now just see a little display, and I know like that's our private chat. I keep it there, and it's literally it is out of the way. I mean, it can't be more out of the way than it's not in my hands.
Yeah, it's very cool. I think that's a good example of technology where it can really disappear and be in service of what you want to do. It's obviously a new thing, so there's lots to be figured out still. But I love that example.
What is the most misunderstood thing about WhatsApp that the general public, when you hear users, they have this question that comes up, and it's like, oh, if they only knew this, it would help bring some clarity.
I think one of the things, and I kind of alluded to that earlier, is that it's like it's there, it works already. What else is there to do? Why do you need so many engineers to continue working on this? I mean, there's the operational bit that we spoke about, like what does it take to keep it running, and then is it growing? You need more skill, you need more machines and better infrastructure. But I think, and this is kind of testament to the product as well, people's expectations are going up. They want to use more features. They want to do more. They're looking to find new ways to express themselves. So we're building these things, and we're building quite a few of them. But I love hearing that, like, well, WhatsApp hasn't changed. And that is not because we don't do anything. It's quite the opposite. But you're gonna have to continue to match people's expectations as they keep using it. So there's a lot going on under the hood to serve that. There's features that you use that you never realized that you just started using because it's kind of disappeared. It is making things increasingly more private where we can, which is difficult. It's try to keep people away from, there's been massive influxes of spam and scams generally in SMS and calling and what have you, keeping people private from that, like making sure that your phone stays free or your WhatsApp stays free of all that. A lot of work under the hood. You don't see any of that.
Right. Do you guys look at any quantum encryption or any homomorphic encryption?
Yep.
Really?
All of the above. We do want to be. I mean, we do believe it's very far out that we don't have to worry about in the post-quantum world where encryption can be broken. WhatsApp's bar is already very high, but yes, we're actively working on post-quantum and making sure that even in the event that it does happen in the future, prior messages will be safe.
That is so cool to hear. I had no idea. I was just throwing it out there. I didn't know that you guys were actually working on quantum. That's amazing. Is there any questions that I didn't ask you that you wish I asked?
No, I don't think so. I think I really appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the scale and kind of what goes on under the hood on events like New Year's Eve. And hopefully give people a little bit of an insight in what it means and what it feels like on the inside. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. And yeah, I'm always happy to chat anytime again.
Sounds great. Thank you, Don.